So welcome to another module, and this time we're looking at the content management system, the CMS, which is the core of our website design. We actually cannot build a website without a CMS. Otherwise, you'll have to learn or to write a lot of code. So CMS simplifies that process of web design, and that's what we want to look at now. And we're saying that by the end of this module, you should be able to, one, define the term CMS and its importance in website design. You should be able to identify and understand the different CMS available for you. Number three, you're supposed to explain the advantages and disadvantages of the different types of website CMS that are available for you to use in your web design process. So let's look at the definition. What's a CMS? A CMS in full simply means a content management system platform. So it's a piece of software that allows you to easily manage the content and create a website. So otherwise we'll have to learn a lot of code, and without a CMS basically means you're doing it through coding, what we call website development. But in website design, CMS, like I said, isn't that process, and you're able to design process. Even a complete beginner without no prior knowledge of programming can easily design a very responsive website and launch that website. So we have different types of CMSs. We have WordPress, we have content-specific Shopify, we have Drupal, we have Joomla. But for this case, we're going to look at WordPress. And there's an assignment, or there's a quiz at the end of this module where you're going to make notes on the different other types of CMS and their advantages and disadvantages. But for this module, we're going to look at WordPress as a CMS. So normally, web pages are written in HTML, JavaScript, or CSS programming languages. So if we didn't have a CMS platform, if we didn't have a content management system platform, then you'll need to first learn these languages for you to be able to write the code that will run your website. So a CMS also makes it easier for content to be added onto the site. Imagine if you're writing a website, a code for a website that is, let's say 15 pages website, and you're looking for the specific code to change a name of maybe of the director of the company. It would be really tiresome. But with a CMS, it is very easy, because you simply walk into that page and change that name straight away. So CMS makes it easier for content to be added or to be changed on the site for people who are completely not developers, people who aren't developers, or people who aren't designers of that website, because CMS uses what we call a visual builder or a visual editor, where what you see is what you get. So that's one of the advantages of a CMS platform. So CMS platform solve this problem by allowing you to make website without writing a code or learning programming languages. Unless, of course, you're looking for a developer friendly. Maybe you have already learned these codes or coding languages. You already know Java, you already know HTML, you already know CSS, and you're looking for a developer friendly. Even WordPress that is this allows you to make basic coding and usually using CSS. But even if you don't know how to do coding in CSS, you still can design websites in WordPress and launch this website without knowing the basic, or even without writing a single line of code. So how do we choose the best CMS? There's a lot of different CMS platforms available out there. I don't know how many there are, but there's quite a lot. And you might even be confused which is the best one. So which one should you pick? And that's the question that you need to answer. Which one should I use? There's WordPress, there's Shopify, there's Joomla, there's Drupal. Which is actually the best one, so that you can pick? But before we jump into the CMS platform comparison, here's what you should look for in a good CMS. So here is mostly what is going to work out for you when you are choosing the best CMS. And you want to choose the best CMS by ease of use. There's no question about that. Ease of use means that you don't need to learn programming, and even using it should not be a hard task, especially for people who don't have programming languages. So any CMS that uses programming will be a no-go zone. So definitely you want a CMS that makes it easy for you to create and to edit content. This often means, and in most cases, most of the CMSs use a drag and drop interface. You don't need to do anything. You simply drag and drop so that you can add different elements on your page. You also want a CMS that gives you design options. So the best CMS offer plenty of website design templates, and templates is an amazing start to your web design. And there's thousands of templates. If you're looking for an NGO website, you don't need to design an NGO website from scratch. You simply look for a template that is already developed by somebody else and it's free or it's pro to buy, and use this template to design your website. This will save you like 80% of the work. So the best CMS offer plenty of website design templates to choose from. Should also allow you to easily customize these design templates to your own requirements. Think about changing details, changing names, and should be easy for you to customize these design templates. And a good CMS also offer extension and add-ons, and the extension and add-ons are godsend, I would say, because not all of websites are designed the same. Not all websites perform the same functions. I need an NGO website. An NGO websites need to have a way we can donate money to. We need an e-commerce website. An e-commerce website need to have a shop and a way that we can pay for the products. Extension and add-ons make it possible for any CMS platform to come up with all the features that will fulfill the requirements of every website. So think about an e-commerce website. I need a shop. So you get an add-on or an extension for a shop. You need an integration, payment integration. So you get an add-on for a payment integration for that website. And this usually comes in terms of plugins. And we're going to look at them later on. A good CMS will also have some aspects of data portability. Very rarely, because it's a competition between CMS. One day, WordPress is performing better, has all the features, but then the next day, Joomla has introduced a feature that you feel that your website really needs. But you want to transfer the website. Rather than going and creating a new website in Joomla, you want a way to carry your website and take it to Joomla without interfering with its design, without interfering with its function. So that portability is a key thing to look for when you're choosing for the best CMS. And a great CMS platform should have the tools for you to easily export your data and move it to a different platform altogether. And then we have help and support. So if you're a beginner in web design, you need somebody or you need a platform that when you get stuck should be able to give you support or should be able to show you how it is done. Although CMS platform already make it very easy to build a website and as straightforward as possible, you still might have some questions and you need platforms to answer this question. You need support in terms of technicians to answer your question. Another aspect of choosing the best CMS that we cannot ignore is the cost. How much does the CMS cost? And not necessarily the CMS itself. Talk about the add-ons. Previously, we were talking about the add-ons on the CMS. So how much do they cost? Take an instance, for instance, like an Android phone. People would prefer an Android phone because most of their apps are almost free. If you go to your iStore and your Play Store in Apple, most of their apps are paid. So you'd want a CMS rather than buying an Apple phone or an Android phone. You'd want the cost implication of running your website on that CMS to be relatively. So some CMS you'll find are completely free. Joomla is completely free. Drupal is free. WordPress is free for life. But you'll need plugins that charge a monthly fee. And still there's plugins that are free but with limited functions. And in some cases you need full functions for these for your website to operate smoothly. So the question is, what is the cost of the CMS versus the cost of the add-ons and the extensions on the plugins? And now that we have these things in mind, data portability, help and support, cost, we're talking about ease of use, design options, and extensions and add-on. Now let's take a look at the best CMS platforms to choose from. And we're going to look at one of the CMS platforms, and that is WordPress. So one of the popular open source CMS available out there is WordPress. Usually WordPress.org, and it's .org because there's a different WordPress.com. That's a different service altogether, and it's not a CMS. So to prevent confusing the two, usually called WordPress.org. And WordPress is the number one choice for the best CMS platform. It's number one for a reason. So it's the world's most popular CMS software, and WordPress powers around 35% of all websites on the internet. 35% is quite a large number of websites, considering the number of websites that are available. So one of the advantages of WordPress as a CMS is the flexibility, and WordPress is really flexible. So WordPress offers the flexibility and freedom, and you can build any kind of website. It's an online store, an auction site, a dating site, or just a normal website. You can build it on WordPress, and you can build it for free, apart from the plugins that you will need to run that your website. WordPress also is very easy to use. In fact, as a beginner, you do not require any technical skills or coding knowledge, because the WordPress block editors make it really easy to create a good looking pages for your website. So that's a plus for WordPress. It's really easy for users, especially for beginners. Another advantage of WordPress is commercialization, and the site that you create on WordPress, you can use it for any purpose, and you can have the complete freedom to make money from it. Other CMS try to regulate on what you can use their CMS platform to do. For instance, if you're going to use it to make or to run an e-commerce website, then they'll charge you more, or you need to get a pro version of the CMS. But for WordPress, being an open source system, you are free to commercialize it, and you can make money from WordPress in any way you want. Another advantage of WordPress is the themes and plugins. WordPress has thousands and thousands of themes and plugins. Some of them are free and some of them are paid, and you can use these themes and plugins to customize your website the way you want it. Think about, you want an extra feature for your website. For example, you want a contact form, you want a user registration, you want a shop, to develop a shop for your website. You simply go ahead and download a theme for your website, or you download a plugin for your website, and you are able to extend your website features using these themes and plugins. Another advantage of WordPress is the search engine optimization. WordPress is really well designed for search engine optimization, and there are thousands of plugins that you can use to optimize your site for search engine. Another amazing feature for WordPress is the WordPress community. Being that 35% of sites run on WordPress, that has created a community of WordPress people, which are very supportive community around WordPress, and an open source CMS, meaning that even you can develop plugins, you can develop themes, or once you develop a theme, you can post it on the plugin page for people to use for free. And that has made WordPress really, really amazing because of the community that they have developed around the WordPress CMS. Even though it's really amazing on advantages, but also WordPress has some disadvantages, and one of them is that you will need to get a domain name and hosting for your website. There are other CMS, like for instance Wix, that gives you hosting and domain when you use their CMS. But for WordPress, you need to get your own domain name and get your own hosting, and then install WordPress on your hosting for you to be able to use you're hosting. And then you'll also be responsible for managing things like security and backups for your website. It can really become a nuisance when people now start hacking your site, because WordPress as a service doesn't provide security or backup for your site. And then WordPress is a little confusing basing on the number of options and much flexibility. If we're talking about plugins and we specify we want a plugin for simply creating a simple thing like a form, you realize there's thousands and thousands and thousands of plugins, and you are confused on which is the best actually to use. It can be a little bit confusing, especially if you're a first-time user. You have very many plugins to choose from, and you keep on wondering which one is the best plugin to choose, or the best theme to choose. So it's a little bit confusing for first-time beginners. Over time, you'll develop those themes and plugins that you commonly use, and that's way you'll get your way around developing your WordPress site or developing your website using WordPress. And then we have to talk about pricing. So WordPress in itself is open source, so it doesn't cost you anything. However, you'll need to buy a domain name and hosting account, and that costs money depending on where you are buying it from. You also need to buy plugins if you need special plugins. Talk about specific plugins for your site. Even though most of them are free, but free has limited options. There are things you cannot do for free, so you'll need to buy the pro version, and that usually costs money. Considering which website you are building and the number of plugins that you need, and you add up to the cost per plugin, that in some instances can run to huge sums, though a lot of people try to limit it to just a couple of plugins, because also having so many plugins on your website can really bring your website down, because now the plugins start fighting with each other. But the cost of the plugins can really take up the cost of developing your website. So basic introduction on the website content management. So that marks the end of this. So see you in the next course.